Hello everyone, we are back with another YouTube video. I'm going to be trying to be as loud as I possibly can. I do see the comments hearing that I am quiet. I've got my volume absolutely maxed out and doing everything without talking directly into the mic and looking a little bit weird like this. It just doesn't look right on camera, but I'm sure this probably sounds fantastic. But I don't want to be doing that. I want to look as normal and comfortable and have access to all of my screens that I can, so I'm probably just going to talk a little bit loud. So let's get into these pre-race predictions, but first, of course, we're going to play our intro. Okay. So I do want to drop in before I've completely forgotten that, as always, please give me a subscribe on Twitch. It'll be rotating. Whoa, I just seen my camera jump there. It'll be rotating down here along with my other social media. So please, if you could, just give me a follow on those. I greatly appreciate this. We are actually streaming this live on Twitch right now, so some people got a little bit of a sneak preview. And yeah, let's get into it. Since this is the first time we have a sprint qualifying, I will go over the multiple qualifyings, and I'll be going both for the sprint weekend as well as the actual regular Grand Prix itself. I do have different predictions for both. Granted, especially at the front, they're not too different from each other. There's more changes at the back than there is the front. I feel like it's kind of a little bit too easy to predict who's going to win, who will be up on the podium as of right this moment. We seem to have, what was it, like a Hambot Ver situation going on that it was in like 2020. That seems to be the trend right now, so I won't be surprised if that continues. So let's start at the very bottom of our sprint race qualifying, because that'll be the first session. So I think Gasly and Ocon will be at the back. I think this is going to be a very rough weekend for Alpine, followed by, in front of them, Sargent, Zhou, and Magnussen. So Zhou seems to be having some pretty bad times in qualifying lately. I think that will continue, and Sargent, he's just been himself. And I think Kevin's actually going to have a little bit of a tough time this weekend. At least during the sprint. I think he'll be a little bit better during the race, but I think during the sprint, he's going to struggle a little bit. So I have him going out in Q1. Because I still don't think they have upgrades, and as much as their top straight line speed is good, I think there's a lot of corners here that require that downforce. If they don't have those upgrades, it's not going to go well for them. And then in Q2, I have Stroll going out again this time, along with right behind him Hülkenberg, Ricciardo, Albon, and Bottas. So I can see Bottas doing a little bit better than Zhou, but I don't think this will be the track for him. I think this is going to be... I don't really know what to think. There hasn't been a race here in 5 years. I just know the teams that have been performing well and have not been performing well. Well, teams and drivers, so to say. So this is how I've completely come up with the order, is simply based on what we've seen in this season so far. I don't really have any history to go off of outside of that. And then in Q3, we've got Verstappen and Perez on the front row. I don't think Perez is going to have to out-qualify anyone this time around. After Japan, I think that Red Bull dominance will continue. I think that'll be basically a 1-2 across the entire weekend. There won't really be any reason for change there. Sainz and Leclerc right behind them. The McLarens right behind that group. Alonso, Russell, and Hamilton, those three will kind of stay in that grouping, but in different orders throughout the weekend. And then Tsunoda will get the final spot in this Q3 session at the least. Then when it comes time for the sprint, what I think will happen is not too many changes. I think Hülkenberg will climb a couple spots, but not really be within the points, at least for the sprint. I think Russell and Alonso will end up swapping positions, but that'll probably be the only points changes. I can see Zhou performing decently during the race. I just think his qualifying has been awful right now. The Williams have been bad. I think Magnussen is going to have himself a bad sprint race, like I mentioned earlier. But I think that will really be it. Of course, it's a sprint. No one really cares about the sprint. It's a stupid money grab, and I hate it, and it should not be an F1. They need to get rid of it so badly. I don't know how I didn't come up with that comment earlier, but yes, The sprint needs to go. It is awful. I hate it. There's no defending it. There's no good reason to have it. And then going into the main race, we're not going to see too much of a difference. I think I've got basically just Zhou and Ocon swapped around. That is really the only change I have from the sprint qualifying. And then in Q2, I've got Stroll, Hülkenberg, Albon, Ricciardo, and Bottas. Again, exact same drivers, just in a slightly different order. And then in my Q3, I think it's almost the exact same. No, there's a couple changes. I've swapped around Leclerc and Sainz this time around. I think with Leclerc getting a little bit more timing and getting a little bit more practice, I think he will nail his one-lap pace at the very least. For qualifying, I think he'll beat Carlos that time around. And I think Alonso, kind of a similar idea. Give him a few more laps, he'll get at least the one-lap pace to get ahead of Piastri. The rest of the information, at least for the top 10, will stay the same. And then when it comes time for the race, not too many changes are going to happen, especially near the top. I think Sainz and Leclerc will end up swapping positions because, like I said, we've got that Ham-Bot-Ver situation going on, where right now it's just Verstappen, Perez, Sainz. I think that trend is going to continue. I think Leclerc will finish behind because Red Bull and Ferrari, they're just in another league of their own right now. There's no denying they're at the top, and then McLaren is the third best team. And then we really just got Mercedes and Alonso battling against each other. So this time I think Alonso will kind of settle back. Actually, I think Alonso lost 2 spots there. I think I just put him losing 1. I think that's him losing 2 spots. So I mislabeled that. And then, yeah, Russell will get the best of him. Once again, I think Mercedes just have the pace. At least the better long-term pace, but Hamilton just doesn't have it with this car. So he'll finish once again P9. I've got Tsunoda at least scoring a point once again. I think he'll do better in the Grand Prix than he does in the sprint. I think with a bit more patience, he will do well. That is ultimately what I think will happen, where Hülkenberg won't really have as much, it's not that Hülkenberg won't have as much patience. I just think Hülkenberg is better over a short term than over an extended stint. I think that's going to be his downfall. Stroll just kind of falls short a little bit. There's a chance that Stroll gets into the points over Tsunoda, but right now his history isn't really helping him. Between a crash in Jeddah and then that awful performance of his in Japan, that was just straight up trash from him. So yeah, he'll have to turn it around big time for consideration. And then we got, down there, Hülkenberg, Ricciardo, Bottas gaining spots again. Albon falling back simply because Williams doesn't have that long, race pace. Magnussen just staying there. Zhou, I think, will get past the Alpines and Sargent simply because they have the better car. And yeah, the Alpines are awful. That's really about it. I don't think there's really much else to say on that, just other than... Oh yeah, I forgot to do my little awards. So I put my driver of the day as Zhou Guanyu. I think he'll potentially get it for, simply for, fan-pleasing, being a Chinese driver at the Chinese GP. And looking at my position gains, over the weekend he would actually be gaining the most, simply because he's probably going to have an awful qualifying and make up for it during the race, getting past cars like the Alpines and Logan Sargent, and really that's how he's going to get his points, is just overtaking those cars. Worst driver of the day, for the same exact reason, will be Alex Albon. I think he's a good qualifier, but he's driving a Williams who just do not have the pace right now. Driver that it's going to over-deliver right now, I say Nico Hülkenberg. I have him finishing P10 in the sprint, and I know it's just the sprint, but of course if that was the GP, it would get a point. That car is not deserving of a point right now, but I think he has the potential to do it. Driver that's going to underdeliver, once again, will be Lance Stroll. Fernando is just absolutely outperforming him. So let me know what you think. Hopefully the sound quality is a lot better. I'm trying to talk directly into the mic to be as loud as possible for this recording. So hopefully it comes through much loud and clear, and let me know what people think. And of course, we will evaluate this after the weekend just to see how close it was. All right, thank you very much for watching. And for those who are on Twitch, we will now be going to play some F1 Manager.